Welcome to Life Esteem, a program committed to delivering information that's important to you and your community.
Hello and welcome again to Life Esteem. So glad to have you as a viewer. Hey, today we're going to talk with Mr. Karl Singleton, one of Harrisburg's, movers and shakers. Really glad to have him on. He is one of the founding members of the Pennsylvania Diversity Coalition and has done great work. Karl, welcome to the show, man.
Welcome. Thanks for having me.
Yes, indeed. Man, we've known each other for a while. You've always been on the front lines there, man, doing some stuff. So tell us all about the Pennsylvania, Diversity Coalition.
Well, first, thanks for having me on.
Yeah.
Definitely, we have done work together throughout the community, and so I'm appreciative that we have an opportunity to come together once again. But as far as the Pennsylvania Diversity Coalition, it was an organization that originated because of issues regarding MBE, DBE inclusion, so minority business enterprise and disadvantaged business enterprise inclusion locally on projects. Whether that was professional services or construction or IT, whatever the case may have been. And as my time was spent in the mayor's office as senior advisor, I would get a lot of phone calls about those issues. And so having opportunity to the highest office in the city, at the time, we thought it not robbery to bring those individuals together that were at the table but not necessarily being included in the process while things were happening around in the communities. We find ourselves in similar situations today with the courthouse project.
I was going to mention that.
So what we did was we started meeting. I was meeting with several individuals throughout the community who were, certified and ready to do business. And we decided that there were strength in numbers. And so one of the first things we did was we unified and became the Harrisburg Regional Diversity Coalition. From there, we decided to start reaching out because we didn't have all the answers locally. So we figured we would go out to Pittsburgh or Philadelphia and learn from them. However, when we arrived there, they were in essence asking us more questions and receiving answers from us, and we were hoping to get from them. And so we huddled up again and became the Pennsylvania Diversity Coalition statewide. I got our 501c3 certification, our designation, and then we started moving from there. And so we bring businesses together, Black, brown, women owned and controlled businesses. Not only owned, but controlling entities as well. So.
Well, let me ask you, Karl, is this somewhat a takeoff from about 25 years ago when we had the Regional Minority Purchasing Council here? Because it sounds similar in regard to what the purpose.
So some of those efforts are embedded, but the difference with that is what we found, especially when you deal with engagement, there'll be a lot of these organizations or companies or prime contractors, et cetera, that are willing to use suppliers. And so you may supply water, and they utilize you, and you may do well with a $100,000 contract, but there's a $5 million contract out there. And so while they're utilizing, a minority women in your case, a minority woman in your case, that is great. However, if they want to hold true to, well, we did have local participation in the minority women, that's only one, and you only supplied, and you really didn't get the bulk of the money
of the dollars
that
are available.
And at that point, that's when we networked and said yes. So you've allowed this water company to come in and have that $100 contract. We applaud you for that. However, we have some individuals that can do asphalt and concrete and framing and drywall and other things and hardware and things like that. And not only that, but we have lawyers that are local, if you haven't noticed. They can do the professional service side in terms of contracting.
That's right.
And so not only that, once your structure is built, it's going to be here for at least 30 years. We have cleaning businesses around that can have those contracts that are cleaning contracts for the next 15, 30 years, and so it's not only one. Last I checked, a lot of people eat during the day. So we have catering companies as well that might be able to come, so when you start to look at the totality of what's honestly available in terms of that dollar amount and that value as opposed to what they're willing to show you, what I've learned is once you start to let them know, those that are in prime position to direct contracts, that you're going after the entire pie, not the one piece as a sub, then you get to the table and you're just forwarded that piece because they didn't want you to have the other 75%.
And that was the frustration of the Regional Minority Purchasing Council, exactly what you just shared, because they were just nickel and diming and not really putting out those really more advantageous opportunities that could be made available.
And a lot of that is us too. If we were to accept that, once they give you the first deal,
Yeah.
you know, it's like, all right, you've settled. And the bottom line is, a lot of us get to the table and we forget why we got there.
Yeah, right, yes, right.
And so when you get there, you know, one of the things that I've been consistent with, even with individuals who don't particularly care for me or my style or whatever, is they'll never be able to say Karl Singleton lied to you or took a deal.
Right.
And with those things, I hold true to that character and integrity piece. When I get to the table, it may not be as well received, but I have a firm belief that if I'm there, we're there. And so, as Ron Brown said, once you reach that level, it's not good enough to say that you've reached that level.
Yeah.
It's your job to let the ladder down for others to come along with you.
I've
And then
noticed-
we have to make sure the right
That's
people
right.
coming along.
Right, but make sure the right
right.
people coming along. And I will take my hats off to you. You've always been very consistent. I think of Reggie Guy, I think of Earl Harris. These are guys like yourself who just, you will not let it go.
Yeah.
Whereas other people say, well, I'm going to settle for this, or, you know, take a piece of that pie.
And I'll just say, with regard, we're different.
Oh,
You know,
absolutely.
Mr. Harris and Mr. Guy. You know, and I've always said this, style-wise, there's plenty of room at the table for everybody.
Oh, absolutely.
And we shouldn't operate in our own vacuums. However, when we come to the table, there's a different element in the room when the Pennsylvania Diversity Coalition comes to the table, and that sets us apart. And it's not to say those other entities that are out there aren't necessarily needed, because they are. Everyone has their
absolutely.
strengths and that they could bring to the table. However, I want to make it clear that the Pennsylvania Diversity Coalition is unlike, not better or worse, but just definitely different than any other organization that's come along, because of our willingness to show solidarity. When we get to the table, we clearly understand that our focus is the masses and not just the chosen few.
So when I saw that, just two things come to my mind. There was just a protest, if you will, up at the courthouse site. Were you part of that?
I was not.
Okay.
However,
so-
I think that is an arm that's necessary
Okay.
to attract attention to an issue. However, at this point, strategically, the coalition is taking a different route,
Right.
which are highlighting the fact that there are federal compliances that you're not in line with, that you've missed. There's due dates that have come and gone. You've delivered on 70% of the projects, and they're not local in terms of how you define local with this particular courthouse. Again, there's 30% of the project left. So our strategy is, we're not going to go and I don't begrudge those who are choosing to be a part of that, but proactively, there's 30% left. We just had a certification training at the hub in conjunction with PennDOT to make sure that we're not just talking about the 30% left, but that we have certified businesses ready to take advantage of the 30% of contracts that's left. So when we go to the negotiating table with strength, because we know they've missed deadlines, they mean in Mascaro, we know that they don't have true local participation, we know that there are requirements that are there, and we know that this project is going to have an impact on our community for generations to come, one way or the other.
That's right.
And we want to ensure that impacct is on the positive side. As they redevelop 6th Street, that used to be straight black, business owned, and now it appears to be moving towards gentrification. There are organizations out there that are having certain topics of discussion. However, the Diversity Coalition are having those discussions with the end goal in mind of making sure that the masses are at the table and not just the chosen few.
Yeah, it's good stuff.
Yeah, I
I
like
noticed back in the day, and we're talking, this conversation's been going on forever, as both of you know. So, in your assessment, are we going forward or backwards? Because I remember there was a time when 25% or more was put in under the Reid administration in terms of any construction, anything that's happening here. We had to have at least 25%, tell me if I'm wrong, minority contract participation, right?
Well, that sounds nice. And there was an ordinance.
There was an
that was on the
ordinance.
books.
Right, okay.
But if an ordinance is on the book and it's not enforced, it's not applied, it's not implemented, it's not properly monitored,
Right.
it's merely just an ordinance.
So we
we came in
Okay, yeah.
under the Pappenfuss administration, we looked at those things. What we found was that those ordinances, in terms of being on paper, were great,
Okay.
but in terms of being implemented, they were moot.
Okay.
And to this day, quite honestly, the directors are supposed, into the current day, directors are supposed to, if you're in purchasing, for example, they're supposed to, reach out. They're supposed to have a certified MBE, DBE list. And actually right now, I'll tell you who's doing a good job of that is Charlie White, who is in the Community and Economic Development Department. He's over there. Shashawn Dial is over there. There's a team that was put together, and they're looking into that. However, this is going to go back to whether or not the legislative body has the fortitude to really stand true to what the ordinance says, because they passed the ordinance. And so if council says this isn't going to go through because it doesn't have the ordinance requirements of 25%, and that 25%, let's be clear, maybe 15% for MBEs. It was broken down lovely. It may be 5% for minority women. It may be, the rest of the percent LGBTQ. It may be, you don't know how it's broken down. But what we do know is, historically, although it was on paper, it hasn't really been followed. And if it was followed, it was followed similar to what you said earlier. The selective few would get all of it, and then they would show up later on, information. We'll say.
So somebody, watching this program now, and they say, "Oh man, I want to be part of that Pennsylvania Diversity Coalition." Is there a process of joining, and how does that happen?
So we have a website, thepadc.org. They can always, come past 1821 Fulton Street, the old Hamilton Health Center building that is now rehab. Thanks to TLC, Work-Based Training and Construction, and Ms. Juanita Edgerton Grant, and CRAM, Christian Recovery Aftercare Ministries. Those are two of our that's an example of when we clearly understood that we had two entities that were doing great work in the community, but the greater work could have been done if they unified. And when they took their mission of ensuring that re-entering citizens that were coming back to the community had the necessary skills and support systems and job training and or bus vouchers to get to work or skid-free shoes to work wherever they were going, or steel-toe shoes to do the contracting. Those two entities came together, unified, went after grant money, showed where things could be done. There were tax credits that were won. There's a plethora of opportunities out there. But what we found, hence being at the table now in terms of the Diversity Coalition, is that individuals could like Mr. Nate, they could like Ms. Pat, they could like Karl Singleton, but they're not going to necessarily trust us with their money. But now if all of us came to the table together under a unified umbrella and say, here's the plan, this is what we're going to do, here's the community impact it's going to have, here's the stackable credits and credentials, they're more inclined to fund something like that. Hence, you have the Diversity Coalition because, we're a body of nonprofit, for-profit, individual businesses that come together with a mission of ensuring that the underserved, underrepresented, and undereducated are not continuously disproportionately impacted by those things, positive things that are going on around us.
Great stuff.
Great stuff. Now, when was this formed? This coalition? How long has it been in existence?
So 2013.
2013.
So it's going into the spring of 2013, we'll say. And that was my time when I was still downtown. And that's when we were the Regional Diversity Coalition. So we did that for about a year and a half. And then we moved into the formation of the Pennsylvania Diversity Coalition. That Ms. Juanita Edgerton Grant helped write the grant for. That's her.
Yeah, she's phenomenal.
I mean, she's the grant writer. She's she understands clearly the legal side. She's not a lawyer, but she understands how to start 501c3s, the funding that's available out there. She has a body of work where individuals come to her, and then you have other organizations that come to the table that could, quite frankly, be doing the same thing or similar things to businesses that we're already engaged with. They still bring a benefit because now we show the strength in numbers.
Definitely, makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, we had her on the show, her and also her nephew.
Tark,
great show, great job, doing great work.
He and I, we grew up together in Hall Manor since we were 9.
I was going to ask you that. You were from Harrisburg here, right? In Hall Manor?
Sherman Cunningham Boys Club.
Oh, yeah.
There you go. Well, John Hall Boys Club, but it's Sherman's.
Good stuff.
But you've been, other roles have you played in this city? I mean, I remember you back when I first, in regard to being at the charter school.
So
you were there, you said, how long?
So as an educator, so I actually started off in the Harrisburg School District. And then it was a temporary position when I first came back in 99, when I first came back with my degrees. And then I ended up, Ms. Yvonne Hollins actually hired me in the Central Dauphin School District.
Oh, okay.
So I was one of 3 reading specialists in the Central Dauphin School District for 2 years. I then came over to the Old Round Ways Brown Charter School, where I was the behavior intervention specialist and reading specialist.
Okay.
So my master's degree is as a reading specialist. My undergrad degree is secondary education English. So that education field had me there.
Had that for a while.
And so Sylvan Heights, I was there roughly 10 years, where I was dean of students there. And then I went to my own business and consulting around education. And then I, decided that there was a need politically, so I ran the Papafoose campaign, and it was a blessing. You figure you had somebody who was 5th in a 3-person race, and he worked hard. We unified. It wasn't just me alone. There was plenty of people that were at the table. Assistant Mike Stewart, Sonia Baltimore, or Ms. McKnight at the time, Susan Brown Wilson, Jamie. There were plenty of people at the table. It was, so it was really a community gathering. And so no regrets there.
But one of the other things you did personally, you were a coach.
Oh, yeah. So I was former president of the Harrisburg Broncos.
Yes.
So when they revitalized that organization, I was tapped with that. So that was an experience, valuable experience. Those educational pieces. Some of the times I'm most nervous. I wasn't really nervous coming on here. I'm not really nervous when I'm going to do speaking engagements, unless they're with young people. I kind of lose sleep that night, at night, and things because they're so impressionable. You don't want to, make that mistake of, oh, well, I didn't understand, or I didn't get that, or I remember it wasn't that. Although the great shows, and you wouldn't believe it. It wasn't that long ago where I was sitting in the audience in Harrisburg High, or Foose Elementary, or Marshall School, or the old middle school, which is now gone. And I remember some of those individuals that would come, Montel Williams and Dr. J. And when they would come to the schools, I was, we captivated. But we also at that time had, in the schools, we had a lot of our own personal productions, and so there were times where, majority of staff wouldn't even have to be in the auditorium. Our classmates who were up on stage would be so captivating, God rest his soul, Andre Cupperson and Craig Brown and Nicole Wilkerson, and they would put on performances, and we were into it. You had the homecoming and just things before. And so the tradition of Harrisburg School District that's embedded in the Harrisburg School District, is something that you have to be a cougar. You have to have lived it. And there's a lot of people who pretend not to care about it in terms of those other areas, but everybody wants to be a cougar.
They want to be a cougar. I like it. But you are bringing up something that a lot of people don't think about, and that is behind those walls, every single day, even today, there's brilliance going on over there. And there's a family in the community, and everyone talks about the incident, whether there's a fight or something else might have happened in the street. But they don't ever talk about the successes, the way that they should, and lifting those up. Here's a success sitting right here, and many people have come out of those districts have done very well.
Well, I'm only sitting here because of those individuals. I remember, growing up in Hall Manor and wondering, I would see those buses parked over by the Boys Club, and it would be like 6:30 in the morning or whatever, and I was like, what are they doing? I didn't know he was picking up the high school kids, and I would see, Harold Brantley, we called him Uwe, I would see DeJuan Green, I would see, Tucker, Andre Tucker, coming down from Ivy Lane with his football helmet, and so I wanted to be a Cougar, but the truth of the matter is, a lot of people didn't want to be Harrisburg High Cougar football players. A lot of people wanted to be Harrisburg High band members because the band was good. So even in Mr. Miles in the middle school band, that was like the showstopper, and that was your promotion to to be able to go to the next level. But then some of us got a little too big to hold the trumpet and all that stuff. So we kind of went, and then Coach Chiz from the Packers would be on you. You need to be down here. So there was. We have a rich history, not only male dominated, but some of the highlights, in particular when we talk about ills in our community today, we are quick to highlight the black male in particular. So what I oftentimes do, not to be exclusive of the black woman, because none of us would be here if the black woman wasn't here. So
that's right.
We do a lot of times look to where we came from in terms of in the city of Harrisburg. So with Uptown, you had Coach Cam, and that was it.
Cam.
And from the Y to Real Street to Fourth, you know, to wherever, you know, Emerald Street, and then on the hill, of course, you had Coach Chiz.
Yep.
And then you had, and still have, we're blessed to have Des Mangus.
There's Mangus.
And then on the south side, you had Sherman Cunningham.
That's right.
And so you couldn't go anywhere. And they would show up in the schools. Sherman would show up, you know, coaching you. He would show up, of course, at the boys' club every day. And they show up, you know, basically just support. They'd be in church.
That's right. Here they
You know,
go.
as well, you know, so you weren't ducking and dodging. Your coaches and teacher lived in the community. The old, you know, Wise Market or Giants and things. So, and that's not to say that we don't still have those values here.
Oh.
To your earlier point, they just aren't, they aren't highlighted.
Darn highlighted.
This isn't anything that with people going to
That's
Princeton, Harvard,
That's
Yale,
right. Absolutely.
whether it's Hampton, Howard, or Morgan. We've been doing that. Is with the news, whether it's the newspaper,
Absolutely.
print media, social media, what do you choose to support in print? You know.
Even some of the heroes, I mean, you know, Cunningham and Mangus, those guys are like bigger than life, and they did tremendous work still, you know. But even guys like a Wes Bear, who's been assistant coaching up there for years. No one gives Wes credit, but Wes has been molding young men forever. And then, you know, you can go on down the line. Jimmy Jones is still in the area.
I was going to say,
You know.
one of the regrets I had. Well, first we should, you know, keep in mind Mr. Bear had to go, was admitted to the hospital yesterday after the game, so we should keep him in prayer.
Wes Bear?
Yes, for the Cougars after the game, during the game
goodness.
yesterday.
Yeah.
I did see that on social media,
I
asking
didn't
for
know
prayers.
that. Okay.
But I was coached by Mr. Jimmy Jones.
All right. Yeah.
And I didn't know who Mr. Jimmy Jones was. You know, when we talk about, you know, like Mr. Mike Cooper,
Mike Cooper.
you know, we talking about someone who was first black quarterback in Penn State.
Penn State.
You know, but also the way I remember him is he was my Marcus Garvey director.
Yeah.
My before and after school program.
Camp
I moved here
Curtin
from
Y.
Jersey at the Camp Curtin Y.
Yeah.
So Charlotte Plains and Sister Thayuta, you know, Karen Wright.
Yeah.
You know, those are, you know, Butch Coleman, who's now pastor. He was, you know, one of the youth counselors.
Yeah.
And so these are all, Dal Martin, the boxer.
Oh, yeah.
He was we were surrounded by community-based greatness.
That's right.
And so, and we would see these people, you know, out and about. They would pick us up in the morning, you know, bring us to the Y. We would have breakfast. We would review homework. They would then drop us off at school, come back, pick us up. We would review homework, have dinner, you know, and then it was African-centered and African-based. And then in the summer, it was summer camp. So that goes back to what do you want done in the community.
right.
They did that, and I was involved in Marcus Garvey in 79, 81. If you can do that in 79, 81, 85, with less resources, it has to be intentional that you're not doing it now.
And remember Joe Summers.
And Mr. Joe Summers
at the Camp Curtin
Curtin
with the
Y.
Black Achievers.
Oh yes, Black Achievers.
Took that thing national. I mean, people, you know, and now he's over in China of all places. I mean, teaching and doing what he does.
Well, I didn't mention Mr. Joe Smooth either. That was
about that?
Joe Smooth, Mr. Joe Smooth.
That's
yeah,
right.
Marcus Garvey.
That's
yeah.
right.
So we have greatness, you know, embedded in our communities.
Yes,
you know,
we
when
do.
you, I can think about the Twymans and Miss Bullock,
Oh,
and
man.
you know, so we have, you know, Mrs. LaFleur, and so we had community-based educators, you know, going to the grocery store with you. So you didn't do your homework, you wanted to avoid it, you didn't turn your report card, they would catch you.
Guess who I saw yesterday in a restaurant? Me and my daughter Danielle, we stopped and had some to eat. Who walks in but Krista Turner Childs?
Oh, yeah.
And my daughter said, well, who is she? And here she is, you know, what a major in the state police now. Just went through the FBI Academy. Just
Harrisburg High.
Harrisburg High. Unbelievable. How can we take our young people today? And I mean, you're setting on all this information around, you know, business and commerce and contracts and this, but our young people don't know anything about that world.
That's about
Most of us adults don't either, right? So how can we get them better educated in this?
So it's about, you know, leadership at every level, whether it's the superintendent of the schools, whether it's the directors at the Boys and Girls Club or Camp Curtin Y. It's about, you know, putting political agendas aside and really committing to what's on paper. And honestly, I shouldn't even highlight the superintendent. That would be unfair. She, at the time, right now, does not direct that. That is a board decision.
That's right.
Similar to, and this is what, similar to how we're looking at 45 down to 1,600 right now. If you understand that that is but one branch of government, that transitions to local as well.
That's right.
So when you want to, just how you look at 45 in a different light in terms of decision making, we'll say,
Yeah.
it's the same way you should look at decision making at the superintendent level. She doesn't do it on her own.
No.
The same way you look at it in the county, on the city level. The mayor can't do it on his own.
That's right.
There are balanced branches of government. So when things are going well, that one individual doesn't get all the credit.
Right.
When the things aren't going as we would like, that individual shouldn't get all the blame.
That's right.
Because, and I keep going back to 45 because that's the highest office in the land right now. He can't do anything without Congress,
Yeah.
House and the Senate.
Yeah.
The mayor can't do anything without the approval of the legislative body. Even if one of those two decided to veto whatever that legislative body said, they would then be able to override his veto with a majority vote.
How about that? Yeah.
So that one individual, we live in a democracy if we understand what democracy is in terms of how the positioning and powers of government work.
Right.
We can't, it's easy to task, or to cast, I should say, blame without doing the work.
That's right.
The county commissioners, for example, right now. Everybody's in love with them right now because they're handing out grant money.
Okay.
It's no mistake that the grant money coincides with election time. It's no mistake that, you know, individuals that are out here, so this isn't trying to be political, but everything's politics.
Everything's politics.
You know, and politics isn't a dirty word. It's not a dirty subject matter. Sometimes dirty people get involved in it, though.
Got you.
And I like
Yeah,
that.
I
Yeah.
like that too.
I like
You know,
that.
so, and when I say dirty, I'm talking strictly being disingenuous.
Yeah.
Not evil or mean, you know, something mean-spirited, but just disingenuous. You know, and so
Yeah.
these are keys.
But we as citizens have to hold these folks accountable.
That's it.
And you don't wait till they get to 45. You got to start with your city, local representation. And you got to get out there and vote.
The most powerful
Yeah.
position, in my opinion, the most powerful position in any community, two of them. One is the business manager in the school district, and the other one is the president of the school board.
Wow.
They set millage rates in terms of taxing powers.
Okay.
Those taxing powers was utilized to bring in resources. Those resources create curriculum. That curriculum then educates our young people. The young people then become adult, hopefully tax-paying citizens in our communities. If you don't have that, you don't have city council or county commissioners or anything being able to manage any money.
Yeah.
You don't have that. So the school board president in any community, not only Harrisburg, in any community.
In the community.
Yeah.
Well, Carl, we've just run down to less than a minute here, man. I really want to thank you for coming on.
Oh, absolutely.
And you always educate, always enlighten, and very, very informative. So it's the Pennsylvania Diversity Coalition, and you're on Facebook and all that?
Yes.
Okay. So check it out. Get involved. They're doing great work, and you know, don't complain about it. Be about it. Let's get out there and get involved and see what we can do together to make our community a better place. Carl, thanks for what you're doing.
No problem.
And
Thanks for
thank
having
you so much for watching this program. It's called Life Esteem here on WHP TV 21. I want to thank you so much. We hope to see you next time here on Life Esteem. Goodbye. Good job.